Mallory Quinn adjusted her scrubs under the dim fluorescent lights of Ridgeway Medical Center. The night shift was quiet, almost painfully so, and the building seemed to hum with an eerie stillness that only hospitals at night could summon. It was just after midnight, and the wind outside howled like it was mourning something. Mallory didn't mind working alone. She actually preferred it. Less chatter, fewer interruptions, and a chance to catch up on patient charts and paperwork. She was a float nurse, and tonight she had been assigned to the old wing, a part of the hospital that had been partially shut down due to budget cuts. Only one patient, an elderly man recovering from surgery, remained on the floor. The rest of the room stood empty, dark, cold, and lined with peeling wallpaper that hadn't been updated in decades. As she walked past the unoccupied rooms, the motion sensor lights flickered on in succession, casting long shadows that danced along the hallway walls. Her footsteps echoed. Room 312, 314, 316. All dark. All empty. She reached the nurse's station and sat down, pulling out the chart from Mr. William Reeves, the only patient under her care tonight. He was sleeping peacefully, hooked to a heart monitor and 4-drip. Mallory had just checked his vitals 30 minutes ago, and everything had been normal. She was about to return to logging his medication when she heard it, a soft creak like someone stepping on an old wooden floorboard. She froze. Her first thought was that security had come early for their rounds, but when she looked down the corridor, there was no sign of anyone. Shaking her head, she chuckled to herself. Old buildings made noise. That's what her supervisor always said when Mallory asked about the strange sounds echoing through the halls at night. But the feeling in her stomach didn't fade. It lingered like something inside her had just sensed a change in the air. She stood, walked to the hallway, and peeked around the corner. Nothing. Just the long, empty hallway lined with closed doors and flickering lights. Then came the whisper. It was faint, almost like wind slipping through a crack in the wall, but it was unmistakable. A single word. Mallory. She spun around. Hello, she called out, trying to sound confident. No answer. Her heart thumped heavily in her chest as she walked briskly to Mr. Reeves' room to make sure he was still safe. He was. Still sleeping, still hooked up, still alive. Returning to the nurse's station, she tried to rationalize it again. Maybe it was a residual sound. Maybe her name was just on her mind and her brain tricked her. But the whispers didn't stop. Over the next hour they grew more frequent, more distinct. She heard her name again, then laughter, soft, childlike, echoing faintly through the halls. It was nearly 2 a.m. when she decided to call security. The call rang 4 times before someone picked up. Ridgeway Security, the voice said. A man named Dean whom she vaguely recognized. Hey Dean. Can you do a sweep of the old wing? I think someone's here. There was a pause. You're in the old wing? Yeah. I've got a patient in 318. But I'm hearing things. Whispers. Laughter. I don't know, maybe kids or... Mallory, Dean interrupted. That part of the building's sealed. No one's supposed to be on the 3rd floor except you. We'll send someone up, but... I know what I heard, she said firmly. Okay. I'll radio Carter. He's closer. Stay where you are. The line went dead, and she felt a sense of relief. At least someone else would be up here soon. But 10 minutes passed. Then 15. No Carter. No Dean. Just more noises, louder now, like running footsteps down the hall, doors creaking open and slamming shut. But every time she checked, nothing had changed. Nothing looked disturbed. Finally, she grabbed the emergency flashlight and started walking. The old wing had 3 corridors that looped in a square around the nurse's station. She decided to sweep them one at a time, just to prove to herself there was nothing there. Room 310, 312, 314. All empty. But as she approached room 316, she noticed the door was slightly ajar. That room had been locked. She was sure of it. She stepped inside slowly. The room was dark except for the flashlight beam. The bed was empty. Dust covered everything. But written on the mirror in red smudged letters were the words, "He sees you." She backed out immediately, nearly dropping the flashlight. Her breath quickened. She needed to get out of that wing. She turned to head back, but the hallway lights suddenly blinked out. Darkness swallowed everything. Then came the laughter again, this time right behind her ear. Mallory screamed and ran. She didn't stop until she reached the elevator and slammed the button. The doors didn't open. She turned to the stairwell, pushed through the metal door, and sprinted down to the second floor. The second floor was completely abandoned due to renovation. She knew that. And yet, every light down the hallway blinked on as she passed, one by one. Halfway down, she saw a figure. A tall man in an old-fashioned nurse's uniform, standing motionless at the end of the hall. "Hello?" she asked, voice trembling. The figure tilted its head, then raised its hand and pointed directly at her. She backed away slowly, turned, and bolted down the stairs to the first floor. She burst into the lobby where 2 security guards stood, startled by her appearance. "There's someone up there," she cried, breathless. "I saw a man. He pointed at me. He was in uniform." Dean looked at Carter, confused. "We just came from the 3rd floor. There was no one there. We looked everywhere." "No," Mallory said. "He wasn't alive." The security guards exchanged a glance. Then Dean said quietly, "You should sit down. There's something you don't know about that wing." Mallory stared at him, chest heaving. 10 years ago, a nurse named Gregory Holloway worked that wing alone on night shifts. He had a breakdown, lost his mind. They say he went room to room and injected patients with insulin until they went into comas. 7 patients died before someone caught him. He vanished before trial. No one's seen him since. Mallory's blood ran cold. Some say he died in the walls. Others say he comes back on quiet nights. He was obsessed with silence. Used to say the quiet let him hear God. Mallory sat down heavily, her limbs trembling. "I saw him. I swear I did." Dean nodded slowly. "You wouldn't be the first." She never worked the old wing again after that. Even years later, she couldn't walk down a hospital hallway at night without feeling his eyes on her. Hearing whispers just beyond the reach of sound. Ridgway eventually shut down the old wing entirely, sealing off the doors with chains. But sometimes, night staff still reported footsteps echoing in the halls, long after everyone had gone home. And in room 316, no matter how many times they repainted it, the words always returned, faint but legible in the right light. "He sees you." Every nurse who dared work alone after that made sure to avoid that floor, except the new ones who didn't know any better. But they always found out eventually. Some saw him, some just heard him, and some, like Mallory, never spoke of what really happened. But the old wing remained, silent, watching, waiting.